This episode is brought to you by the Nissan Armada Pro 4X. With a twin-turbo V6 engine ready to propel your adventures, up to 8,500 pounds of towing capacity to haul all your favorite toys and space for 8 passengers. Nissan's most powerful car yet will chew up and spit out anything you throw at it. Learn more about the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada at nissanusa.com. Towing capacity varies by configuration. See Nissan Towing Guide and Owner's Manual for additional information. Always secure cargo.
This is the Michael K. Show podcast.
I gotta get more K.
Listen live weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN, the ESPN New York app, and your smart speaker.
And a good afternoon, everybody. This is indeed the Michael K. Show. We thank you for joining us on this Tuesday. It's a beautiful Tuesday, and it is March 11th, 2025. We're still waiting to see who the Giant quarterback's going to be. We're keeping an eye. We're following Schefter. As soon as we know, we will get it to you. The Jets kind of solved their quarterback issue. It happened during our show when I was talking with Don LaGreca in the 2 o'clock hour. So we know it's going to be Justin Fields battling Tyrod Taylor, but the money they gave Justin Fields, obviously they want him to start. So that's their solution for this year. And if he plays well, it'll be a longer-term solution. He's a young player. The second year is very forgiving. If he doesn't work out in the first year, cap-wise, they're not going to get killed. But things are getting very interesting with the Giants because there could be Carson Wentz, something like that. Is that what's going to happen? Mike Tannenbaum was on with Unsportsmanlike earlier today, and he actually put it out there. The Giants could get shut out at quarterback.
If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers...
Hypothetically, we'll play that out.
Right, which is a non-zero chance of happening. Who's the starting quarterback for the Giants in open day, assuming that Cam Ward and Tennessee gets done? And that's really stunning to think that we're sitting here and we're talking about the New York Giants. We don't know who their quarterback's going to be.
Well, I mean, the answer is easy. It's probably Russell Wilson. That's the answer. It's probably Russell Wilson. Does that make you feel good? No, it doesn't make you feel good. The Giants are in a terrible situation. I am not going to bore you all by giving you the same old tired story, but I will repeat very quickly. Bottom line is this, everybody. They're in the situation they're in not by accident and not by design, but more so by ineptitude. You bring back Shane and Dable, right? And you give them a 1-year runway. So they've got to scramble to win as many games as they can in 2025 because they know they'll be out of a job. That's not the way to build a team. You either fire them, get rid of them, and bring in a whole new front office and coaching staff, or if you decide they're the ones, not only do you bring them back, but you give them contract extensions. But they don't have real conviction. John Mara and Tisch do not have real conviction. If they had conviction, they'd make a decision. Get rid of them or bring them back and give them a contract extension. Are they going to get a quarterback in the draft? Are they going to have to move up to number 1? Is Cam Ward worth it to move up to number 1? So many questions. Again, we're not going to belabor the point, but it's out there. The Giants are in dire straits right now. Now let's talk Yankees. So after we got off the air yesterday, it became official. Garrett Cole is undergoing Tommy John surgery, maybe as we speak right now, with Dr. Neil Elitroch in Los Angeles. He's one of the best doctors for that surgery in the entire country. But in a best-case scenario, a starting pitcher, relievers, it's a shorter time frame, but a starting pitcher comes back in 14 to 16 months. So this is March 11th. If everything goes well and it's 14 months, then we're not going to see him until June of next year. And if it's a month, a year and a half, which is what sometimes it is, then you're not going to see him maybe till the All-Star break. So there's so many layers to this that you really have to address. Number one, how much does this affect Garrett Cole's Hall of Fame arc? Remember, he missed 15 starts, missing the first half of last season. He's going to miss 32 starts this year. He's probably going to miss 3 months next year. That's another 15. That's 62 starts you've taken out of his Hall of Fame arc. His quest to get 3,000 strikeouts, building up wins. Now, that's the least of the Yankees' worry, but it is certainly an offshoot of what's out there. So it impacts his legacy. And now it obviously impacts the New York Yankees greatly. Anybody who tells you differently, pie in the sky nonsense, they took a big, big blow. You can't lose your ace pitcher and not have it impact you negatively. Now, they lost him for half the season last year, and they lucked out because Luis Gil was money. He did probably what prime Garrett Cole would have done. That's how good Luis Gil was. But not only do they lose Garrett Cole, they've lost Luis Gil probably for 3 months. Probably. Could be longer. So now your starting rotation is Max Fried, number 1, Carlos Rodon, number 2, a combination of Clark Schmidt and Stroman, 3 or 4, and then Will Warren or Carlos Carrasco. I mean, really. Now, I was just on with Chris and Bart, and Chris told me a fascinating stat, that the line for the Yankees winning the American League and getting to the World Series has hardly moved with the loss of Cole. Now, remember, they're also without Stanton. We have no idea if or when Stanton's going to come back. No idea. No Cole, no Gil, no Stanton, no change in the odds of getting to the World Series. Now, in my mind, winning the American League became a lot tougher. But what Vegas is telling us, not what I'm telling you, what Vegas is telling you is the American League is terrible. Now, I don't think it's as bad as they're making it out to be, because I think the Orioles are a good team. They're a good team. The Red Sox have the potential to be a good team. I don't think they're at that level right now, but I think they have the potential to be a good team. Toronto is better than it was last year. I'm not quite sure how good they are. If they had gotten Bregman, that would have been a big pickup for them. If they had gotten Alonso, it would have been a big pickup for them. They had some pickups, Santander. They built up the bullpen with Hoffman, all of that. I see what they did. And then Tampa Bay, I never discount Tampa Bay. Sorry, I don't. I won't do it because they're so smart and they make the most out of nothing. But the fact that the odds have not moved, if you look at the American League West, the team I think that's the best in the West is the Texas Rangers, because you're going to have Jacob deGrom back. And they had an off year last year. I don't think they're going to have an off year again this year. Their pitching is much, much better. Their bullpen, worries me a little bit. Houston has winning DNA, but they're going to take a step back too. No Kyle Tucker. That's a big, big deal. No Alex Bregman. Also a big deal. You're putting Jose Altuve in left field. I mean, that's a tough thing for a guy who's played second base his whole life to be in left field, and he does not have a good arm. Now, that will not impact them at home, but in a game at Yankee Stadium, the Yankees should run on Altuve every single time they have a chance. He has a bad arm. That's why he wasn't good at second base of late. His defensive skills have deteriorated. He's still a really, really good hitter. The Central doesn't scare me. The Central never scares the Yankees, whether it's the Twins or the Guardians, then Kansas City. None of those teams, as presently constituted, are going to scare the Yankees if they face them in the playoffs. So yesterday, I felt that the Yankees did take a hit on being the favorite to win the American League. But Vegas tells us it's not as much of a hit as you would feel if you're in the middle of panic. It's going to be hard to convince me, though, who's seen a lot of this over his years, that losing Gil and losing Cole is not going to have an impact. I mean, I've seen Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman might give them a good first half. What's going to happen in the second half? Anybody that the Yankees try to trade for, any team is going to hold up the Yankees. There's always a premium for the Yankees. They always have to pay a quote-unquote Yankee tax, right? Well, now you're going to get Yankee tax on top of the fact that they know that the Yankees are desperate. So how the Yankees win? Why is Vegas not that concerned? I'll tell you. It comes down to this. They have a really good bullpen. I guess their offense, people think, is going to be pretty good. I still reserve the right to see who's going to protect Judge. But the offense could put up some runs. They're going to have to score a lot of runs. Now, you could say, well, they're not a great offensive team. Well, last year they were. Now, they don't have Soto. But they have added Bellinger. And we'll see if that makes a difference. They added Goldschmidt, which was a position that was a black hole for the Yankees the last couple of years. They didn't get any offense out of that at all. So we'll see. They have Chisholm at second. He's better defender than Torres, although Torres had a great second half and a good postseason last year. And then third base is a huge question mark. So they expect great. They're going to have to get great things out of Volpe. He's going to have to take that next step offensively. He can't have an on-base percentage under 300. He's better than that. Austin Wells is going to have the first half of the year for the whole year. He can't collapse like he did in the second half. And Jason Dominguez becomes a very important part of this team. Very important part. And of course, there's Aaron Judge. But one thing that I find interesting, and I brought this up with Bart and Carlin, I thought about this, and I don't even know the answer to it, so I want to throw it out to you, all of our listeners, my co-host, 1-800-919-3776. If the Yankees had signed Juan Soto, which they wanted to do, right? They offered 16 years, $760 million. The Mets offered 15 years, $765, with an option that kicks in after the fifth year that takes the contract up to 15 years, $810 million. Both teams wanted him for whatever reason. You could say money. You could say, as Darryl Strawberry said yesterday, he had to get out of the shadow of Aaron Judge. He liked the cut of their jib better. I don't know. He's a Met. And the Yankees pivoted, and everybody celebrated their pivot. And I think it deserves to be celebrated. But their main pivot after they lost on Soto was to go out and get Max Fried. Now, Max Fried, after everything that's happened over the last couple of weeks, is now the Yankees' number one starter. He's their ace. So I ask all of you, would you rather have had the Yankees sign Soto and not sign Fried, and the same thing that happened, and you'd be going into the 2025 season with Carlos Rodon as your ace? Or would you rather have Max Fried as your ace, Carlos Rodon as number two, and no Soto? Now, I'm just talking about 2025 because over the long haul, I will tell you this, I'd rather have Soto over the long haul. But for the short term, is it better for them this year to have Fried than to have had Soto and not make any of the other moves, not make the Bellinger move, not make the Devin Williams move, and obviously not make the Max Fried move? It's kind of fascinating. It's a fascinating case study. Is Fried more important to the 2025 Yankees than Soto would have been to the 2025 Yankees? So the Yankee offense, you could argue, would have been better. Their defense would not be as good because Judge would still be in center, where he was a below-average center fielder. Soto would be in right, where he's a below-average right fielder. Please don't tell me that he finished in the top 3 in Gold Glove. I watched every game. He's not a good right fielder. And Jason Dominguez would be your left fielder. But your opening day starter, your horse, the guy that you would depend on to win all the big games and match up against all the best pitchers, would be Carlos Rodon. I'll give you my answer. I also want to hear from you, but I'll give you my answer. I think I'd rather have Soto. Because he's so generational that they would figure things out with the pitching. Maybe they would make a deal. Maybe they'd be more apt to make a deal for a big-time pitcher like an Alcantara or Cease, or even bring back Michael King. I think they would be forced to do something where they would not go into the season with Rodon as the number one. But I can't turn down the opportunity to have a great player like Soto in the lineup. Again, the ramifications are your pitching's weaker and your defense is weaker. Which would you go with? That's the question, everybody. 1-800-919-3776. There are some financial ramifications when it comes to the Cole injury. And we're going to have Buster Olney on at 1:30 to tell us those ramifications. But now I want to hear from you. 1-800-919-3776. And we will start with Rashid in the Bronx. Rashid, what's up?
1-800-919-3776.
Rashid, Michael K. here. You're on the air.
Okay.
How you doing, bud?
Hey, how you doing? Good afternoon. All right, so to answer your question, definitely having a Freed for this situation is definitely the better choice because no matter how good your offense is, your offense would be a lot better with Stanton. Oh, no, not Stanton. Sorry, not with Stanton. With Soto, protecting Judge. Yes, it'll be a lot better. But if you have no starting pitching, and you put, I know the bullpen is a lot better with Evan Williams, but if you put too much pressure on your bullpen, it's going to be a complete disaster. But I do have a quick question for you, too, as well. Yeah, so do you think it was wise for the Yankees to not give up Hill for Tucker? Because, like you said earlier, who's protecting Judge this season?
Well, first of all, it wasn't just Heel. They wanted more. They probably wanted Lombard or they wanted Jason Dominguez. So you're gonna get the top prospect Lombard, and we thank you for the phone call. And now, I mean, it's very, very clever of everybody to, like, jump on the Yankees and second guess why didn't they give up Heel. The Yankees didn't know he'd blow out his lat. Wouldn't you like to have Heel right now if he was healthy? Wouldn't he be pretty important to this team? Listen, I love Kyle Tucker. That's the guy I wanted them to go after, and they tried. But this team is older. Stanton is older. Judge is getting older. At some point, you have to incorporate young players, which they're trying to do with Dominguez. They're trying to do at third base. And they want to eventually do with Lombard. Lombard might be your everyday third baseman next year. People in baseball love him. They think he's an absolute stud. Now, I'm going to give you some behind-the-scenes radio, everybody. So we moved into a new studio, which is gorgeous. But there are some problems right now with the phone system where when we put you on hold, you're not hearing the radio station. So after you talk to my producer, Ray Dinahan, the next voice you're going to hear is mine. So you got to turn down the radio. I know you're listening to the radio, and it becomes a constant thing of you not knowing that you're on the air. So those are the rules of engagement right now. You're not hearing the radio station on hold. Now, eventually, that will be taken care of, but I just want you to know, don't be alarmed. The next voice you hear is going to be mine. It's going to be mine. Let's go to Raphael in Washington Heights. Raphael. Hello, buddy.
Yes, hi.
How you doing? You're on the air.
Okay.
You're on the air.
Okay. Hi. Hi, Michael. Hey. I would like to the Yankees should have kept Soto, because I never worry about the pitching. Somehow the Yankees always figured out about the pitching. But if the Soto would have been a better offense, because I don't trust the offense right now, how they construct it right now.
Well, obviously,
the other team.
No, with Soto, and we thank you for the phone call. With Soto, the offense is better. Now, if you get 70% of the production that Soto had with Bellinger, do you feel the same way? Because, again, if you got Soto, one of the Yankee strengths right now is the bullpen. If you got Soto, you would not have Devin Williams. You would not have Max Fried. You probably wouldn't even have Bellinger. So those three guys were acquired as the pivot after they lost Soto. So that's the way the question has to be framed. Soto, a lesser bullpen, a lesser starting rotation, and worse defense, or no Soto, an excellent bullpen led by one of the top two closers in all of baseball, is either he or Clase, a guy who has something to prove in Bellinger. I think you probably would have had Goldschmidt even if you had Soto, because you need a first baseman. That's why when I thought of this driving in, I thought it was such a fascinating question, because Soto's such a generational player that you just don't dismiss it. You can't just say, oh, yeah, I want Max Fried, because they need Max Fried right now. But one thing that this injury to Cole has told all of us, I don't know if baseball will ever learn its lesson, though. Giving Max Fried 8 years, too many, especially at his age. Giving Cole 9 years, too many. Now, if you're going to do business in the major leagues, you're going to have to do that. That's the way you get these players. Andrew Friedman of the Dodgers said if you're going to be rational when it comes to free agents, you're always going to finish third. You're always going to finish third in the battle to get that player. So you got to be irrational. But when it comes to starting pitching, everybody, you look at Cole. Cole's mechanics are exquisite. Exquisite, takes care of himself. Is a professor of the game. Really knows how to pitch. And again, the mechanics are perfect. And he blew out his arm. Every starter is going to blow out their arm. Everyone. Giving Yamamoto 10 years, probably a mistake. He's going to blow out his arm. Sasaki at some point is going to blow out his arm. That's why David Stearns of the Mets probably has it right. I am not giving out long-term contracts to pitchers in their 30s because you're almost signing up for 2 years of the pitcher being down as he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. And I'm a huge Garrett Cole fan. And the sad part for me, when I heard the news yesterday, not so much about how it affects the Yankees. Listen, I do the Yankee games. I do the play-by-play. So I'm entrenched with that. But I love watching Garrett Cole pitch. When he pitches, he's an artist. He is so dominating. It's so much fun to watch him pitch. And now this surgery essentially takes him out of baseball for a year and a half. That stinks. You want your best players playing. You want your best pitchers pitching. You don't want them to go down for long stretches of time. But I'm sorry, the way the game is played right now, with an obsession with velocity, every pitcher is going to blow out his arm, going to blow out his elbow. Every pitcher is going to have at least one Tommy John surgery, maybe two. Nathan Eovaldi's had it twice. A lot of pitchers have had it twice. It's the right of doing business. That's the way it is. It's what happens. So when you're going to lock up a pitcher to a 9-year deal, you're signing up for losing him for up to 2 years on Tommy John surgery. Same thing with Fried. I'm crossing my fingers that it doesn't happen, but the Yankees, you think the Yankees wanted to give a 31-year-old pitcher an 8-year contract? No. But they knew that some other team would. And then they lose out on the pitcher. So you just think and just say, okay, I can't think about the back end. I got to think about right now. All these long-term contracts for all these players, it's ridiculous. You think Soto's going to be good at the end of 15 years? No. You think Judge is going to be good at the end of those 9 years? No. But that's the price of doing business. And the Yankees paid the price last night when it was announced that Garrett Cole's out for the year and probably half of next year. Stinks. If you're a baseball fan, it stinks. Even if you don't like the Yankees. Don't you like to watch Garrett Cole pitch? I do. I love watching Garrett Cole pitch. I loved watching Jacob deGrom pitch. And it has been absolutely awful that we have not had Jacob deGrom for about 2 years. So baseball could keep selling us on velocity. Velocity, velocity, velocity. You'll pay for velocity. The human arm is not meant to throw a baseball that hard that many times. The ligaments in your elbow are going to snap. Buster Olney joins us next. We'll talk about the insurance the Yankees have on Cole and how it impacts what they do moving forward. Hey, this week, FanDuel is bringing you a Dog of the Day Profit Boost token. One of the best parts about the tournament is when an underdog takes down a powerhouse. And right now, those upsets can get even better because if your underdog bet wins, you'll land even more winnings with a profit boost. This is your chance to ride with the long shots, the scrappy teams, the ones that refuse to go quietly. Conference tournaments always provide a surprise. You just have to figure out what it is. The Big Ten, ACC, and the SEC, they're so deep. So what you should do is keep your eye on the programs that are desperate to make the NCAA tournament, and they need to win games in the conference tournament. Now, if you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app is easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com/K to download America's #1 sportsbook today and back your Dog of the Day with a profit boost because, after all, anything can happen in March. 21 plus, physically present in New York, opt-in required, wager of at least plus 100 odds required, bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
As the number and severity of third-party breaches continue to rise, companies are increasingly vigilant, not just about how they handle their own data, but how their vendors do as well. For security and compliance leaders, this means more security reviews are coming across your desk every day, and valuable time is being wasted on manual security reviews. With Vanta Questionnaire Automation, security and compliance teams can complete security reviews up to 5 times faster, giving you time back to focus on running your security and compliance programs. Over 8,000 global companies like ZoomInfo, Smart Recruiters, and Noibu use Vanta to save time on security reviews. Visit vanta.com/podcast to learn more about questionnaire automation. That's VANTA.com/podcast.
Valspar Ultra starts at just $29.98 a gallon. So we've got you covered when your daughter wants to paint her room again, after last year's masterpiece of a unicorn mural.
Dad, please.
Or when you realize that maybe you went too hard on the grayish.
I miss color.
Or when you were sure you wanted a home gym, but your elliptical is currently hanging your laundry.
What about a home office?
Shop everything you need for your next phase with Valspar. Available at Lowe's. Price varies by sheet.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Always love to talk to our next guest, who had an interesting bit of information yesterday. So I said, let's get Buster on so he could talk about it. It's our baseball expert, Buster Olney, and he joins us here on the Michael K. Show. Buster, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Michael. How are you?
Good. Now, I want to give you the question that I essentially opened the show with. All right? If you're the Yankees, would you have rather signed Juan Soto and not have Max Fried and Cody Bellinger, or would you have rather not signed him and have Max Fried as your number one starter? Because if Soto came back, you might not have Williams, you wouldn't have Bellinger, and you certainly wouldn't have Max Fried, which means that if everything happened the way it happened, Carlos Rodon would be your number one starter. I'm just talking about 2025. Are the Yankees better off that they brought in Fried than to have Soto?
It's a great and interesting way of looking at it, and you know this, as they were going down the wire in the Soto negotiations, there were definitely people in the Yankees organization, when you're talking about, an average annual salary of getting up to $50 million, you're like, we love the player, but we don't have to go down this route.
Right.
For the exact reason that you just laid out. That, so you invest a lot of money in Soto after having a lot of money invested in Judge, but would the team be better off having more depth? I think the answer to your question is apparent. You have to have Max Fried now. Like you can look at the Yankees roster and say, man, if with Max Fried, could this team, make the playoffs without Soto, but without Garrett Cole, without Fried, does this team make the playoffs? I don't think so.
Now,
especially in a really competitive American League East.
So when the word came down yesterday that Cole is out, might be out for a year and a half. He might not be back till the All-Star game next year. I would think, I said it on the air too before it became official, that, I thought the Yankees were the best team in baseball. Now it's not that clear cut. But what I find fascinating is that the odds in Vegas didn't move at all. I mean, minuscule amount of movement. Wow. They still think the Yankees are the favorite to get to the World Series out of the American League. Do you feel that way?
No, I thought, early in the offseason when the Red Sox traded for Garrett Crochet, when they signed Walker Buehler, even before they signed Alex Bregman, I thought that they had become the team to beat in the American League East, and I'm going to pick them to win the American League this year. I think they're that much improved. And look, I don't I don't think this is a case where, the Yankees are done and they can't possibly win without Garrett Cole. We saw last year how they could survive with internal solutions, and I do expect before the trade deadline that there'll be some options that'll emerge to help their rotation. But I think the Red Sox are a better team right now. And what is, generally speaking, and I think you'd agree with me here, is a weaker American League.
Yeah.
Like, if you think of the best teams in baseball, the top 3-4 teams are all in the National League.
So do you have any concern? Do you think the Orioles could win the division?
No, I don't.
Because of pitching?
That's exactly right. I mean, the Orioles, despite the fact that they're in their window to win with all these young players having graduated the major leagues, with Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson established, I think it surprised a lot of people in the wintertime that they didn't do more in terms of bolstering the rotation, and they left themselves in a fragile state going into spring training that Grayson Rodriguez had to be their ace. And then what happened last week, his fastball velo was down 89. They shut him down for 7 to 10 days. And, they're expressing optimism that he's going to be able to come back and pitch. But and I know, you just don't know with these situations. It's an incredibly thin rotation. I know from, talking to Brandon Hyde, the Orioles manager last week, he felt like despite the fact that they struggled in the second half, they still won 91 games, and that they're a really good team. But I just think the rotation is so thin and has such, a lack of depth behind it. Any more injuries, and you wonder if they're going to be able to make the playoffs.
Let's talk about the insurance the Yankees have on Cole. How much of the $36 million will they not have to pay?
So I don't know the answer to that, the precise answer to that. Typically, they have insurance on his contract, and typically it's about 3/4. So if those numbers are right, then it would be about $27 million that they'll recoup, but that doesn't affect their luxury tax situation. Having Cole go on the injured list, they still, if they make additions going forward, it's a dollar tax for every dollar they spend, whether it's a free agent, like a Cal Gibson if they wanted to go that route, or if they trade for a player during the course of the year.
Now, I also wanted to know this. I've asked a couple of people, and I said, well, Buster would definitely know this. So during the offseason, as was his right, Garrett Cole opted out.
Yep.
To get that guaranteed 10th year. Brian Cashman called his bluff and said, no, we're not giving it to you. So essentially, he was a free agent. And the next day, he opted back in. Could the Yankees have just let him go away?
100%. And given what happened last spring with the elbow injury, knowing that the biggest indicator of an injury to come are past injuries, you could have made a case at that point that would have been the smart thing for the Yankees to do. It would have been a reasonable argument that sometime in the last years of Garrett's career that he was going to blow out, that he was going to wind up missing a year and a half. I got to be honest, when Garrett or Scott Boras, and I think it was Garrett who directly called Hal Steinbrenner and said, "Hey, let's just do the same deal we had before." I thought for sure that the Yankees would just move on and say, "Look, we have other concerns. You're talking about a pitcher in his late 30s, knowing that there's issue with the elbow." I think absolutely there could have been a strong case to just let him go.
It's interesting, though. So they probably erred on the side of being loyal because he's been such a great Yankee. Yep. He loves the Yankee experience, but probably the cutthroat business move would have been to say, okay, you opted out, you're out. And that's what a lot of the front office wanted to do when Alex opted out. And they ended up re-signing him. But I guess they wouldn't know that he was going to blow out. But the thing I always wondered about, Buster, last year with the edema and the inflammation in the elbow, and then he didn't pitch for half the season, came back and actually pitched quite well and great in the postseason. But they didn't tell us why he had the inflammation, why he had the edema. Something had it, but supposedly they ran tests during the winter and they felt good about where his elbow was. So I don't know what I would have done because it would have been a cutthroat move for sure.
Yeah, well, and in response to a cutthroat move to opt out of the contract, which is why, from pure business standpoint, it would have been, I think, probably the right call to walk away at that point. I really don't mean that as a second guess.
Right.
But you laid it out perfectly. I once had a general manager say to me, he laughed and he said, "Hey, when we tell you guys that it's inflammation, we're not telling you anything. The real question is, where's the inflammation coming from?
Yep.
And the Yankees knew after what happened last spring that there was a reasonable chance at some point that Garrett Cole was going to blow out. There was concern it was going to happen after he came back at midseason. Now, they lived through the Masahiro Tanaka situation where, he had a partial tear in the elbow ligament. Essentially at that point, he had a ticking time bomb in his elbow. And guess what? It never went off. And so you don't know how these things are going to play out. In Garrett Cole's case, it went off. Yeah, I agree with you that there would have been I think there would have been many teams that would have told Garrett Cole, okay, you chose to opt out. We're going to take the $144 million and go spend it on something else.
And the reason why Garrett didn't, I think he loves being a Yankee, but he also knew that elbow's a ticking time bomb. If he was going to sign with anybody else, they were going to run extensive tests, and whatever team was thinking about signing him, they were going to see that too. But he gave the Yankees an opening by opting out.
Yeah, and it surprised me that there wasn't an understanding before the opt-out, because you know how it goes. This is what happened with CC Sabathia in his case, where his agent, Brian Peters, was threatening to opt out. They were doing negotiating behind the scenes, but before he opted out, they wound up agreeing to this, an extension, and this was after they had found a tear in his shoulder capsule. And in the end, he wound up working out a deal to come back, but he never actually opted out of the contract. It surprised me that Garrett, first off, he opted out without knowing how it was going to turn out at the back end, and it surprised me the Yankees let him back in.
All right,
but, I agree with you. It's about Garrett has been a great pitcher for them. He's been a great teammate. He loves playing for the Yankees. I was just surprised that, he walked out the door and they let him back in.
All right, let me ask you about what's available now. Can they do anything? Because, you look at it, Carlos Rodon's their second starter. Marcus Stroman or Clark Schmidt are 3 and 4, and you don't even know who 5 is going to be. Could be Carrasco, could be Warren. They obviously need another starter. I don't know if they need it right away, but is there anything available now?
So you could go into the marketplace. Kyle Gibson, as I mentioned, he's a journeyman. He's gone from the Orioles to the Cardinals the last couple of years. That, could be someone that you could talk to. Lance Lynn is another guy who's out there, who's been with the Yankees before. You've seen his home run numbers go up. And just knowing Brian Cashman, how he handles these situations, he's learned that you don't have to panic, that 162 games is a long time. They did that last year with Heel. They didn't know exactly what he was going to bring to the table, and it turned out to be great.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what they'll do at the beginning of the year. And then as the season goes on, yeah, there are going to be names available. Look, you could call the Marlins right now and ask about what it would cost to get Sandy Alcantara, who won the Cy Young Award in 2022, blew out his elbow. He's come back. He looks absolutely great. But here's the thing. He's got a very team-friendly contract for a couple more years. It would cost the Yankees so much, and they might not even have enough. Last year, when Garrett Crochet was out on the market, the Yankees wanted to make a deal with the White Sox, and the White Sox basically told them, you don't have enough in your farm system. We're not interested. As you know, their farm system has declined in the last couple of years. And so if there's a competitive situation to bid for somebody like Alcantara, I think they would be at a disadvantage. The better option probably for the Yankees as the season goes along is as teams drop out of contention and they become sellers, that's when names become available. The Blue Jays, for example, if they don't wind up contending and they wind up being sellers during the course of the year, they got Chris Bassett, they got Max Scherzer. The Padres drop out, you got Michael King. Dylan Cease is out there, has been out there some degree. But I think right now there's not a lot out there in terms of veteran starters.
Do you have any word whatsoever on Stanton? It's so mysterious. He's had the 3rd PRP. There's word that he's going to have more. Do you think we're going to see Stanton this year?
I do. From what I understand so far, their feeling is that through treatment that he's going to be able to come back now. Is that July?
Mm-hmm.
Is it August? Is sometime? I don't think they have a specific time frame until they see how, he responds to treatment. It was interesting to hear from him the other day where he was, let everybody know, look, if this doesn't work out, he needs surgery, could be out for the year. I do think the Yankees are monitoring, the market for hitters. A guy like J.D. Martinez, you wonder if he would be a fit. He probably is going to want more money than the Yankees would be willing to offer. I think that will be a telltale as to whether or not the Yankees think Stan is coming back if they go out and make a move for a veteran hitter in the next few weeks.
Do you? We're talking with Buster Olney here on the Michael K. Show. Do you have any idea what the Astros wanted from the Yankees in the Kyle Tucker trade? I mean, I've heard Heel. Who else did they ask for? And did they feel that the Yankees had anything to satisfy them, or they were always content with what the Cubs gave them?
So I don't know exactly the back end of the trade. In other words, who would have rounded out the trade? It was Heel and others. I think, and we've seen the situation happen through the years, where there's a perception in the Yankees organization that, you know what, the cost to us is going to be higher than somebody else for whatever reason. And this is pure speculation on my part. I got to believe that given the tension between the two franchises over the last 5 or 6 years, it would have been difficult for the Yankees to get Kyle Tucker from the Astros. There's just so much anger and so much resentment over the sign stealing stuff and comments that Brian's made and the Astros have fired back at times. I just don't think those teams would have ever worked out a deal for Kyle Tucker.
Buster, we appreciate you coming on as always. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Okay, Michael, thank you.
All right, that's Buster Olney. Interesting stuff from him, especially about the opt-out, which we'll get into a little bit more later. Hey, Game Time is brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, because when it's game time, it's Tully time. The Nets are in Cleveland to play the Cavaliers. That's at 7. That'll be on Yes. The Devils host the Blue Jackets at the Prudential Center, also at 7. At 8 p.m., the Rangers are in Winnipeg to play the Jets. Pre-game coverage begins at 7:30. That'll be right here on 880 ESPN. And at 10:30, the Islanders are in L.A. to play the Kings. Tullamore Dew, the original triple distilled, triple blended, triple cask matured Irish whiskey. Be sure to grab a Tullamore Dew or try the new Tullamore Dew Honey during today's action. Glasses up to enjoying Tullamore Dew responsibly. We'll come back, take your phone calls, talk a little basketball, continue with the baseball, continue to monitor the NFL situation. Who's the Giant quarterback going to be? Still no answers. It's the K Show going till 3 o'clock right here on 880 ESPN.
Every idea starts with a problem. Warby Parker's was simple. Glasses are too expensive. So they set out to change that. By designing glasses in-house and selling directly to customers, they're able to offer prescription eyewear that's expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Warby Parker glasses are made from premium materials like impact-resistant polycarbonate and custom acetate. And they start at just $95, including prescription lenses. Get glasses made from the good stuff. Stop by a Warby Parker store near you.
If you like true crime stories, listen to this one. But as you listen, put yourself in the place of this IT manager, because he never dreamed this would happen at his company on his watch. He came in on Monday and tried to log in and couldn't. A ransom pop-up informed him that company data, customer files, bank accounts, APAR, everything was being held for ransom. And if they didn't pay $250,000 in Bitcoin, no less, all of it would be wiped. Nearly a third of mid-sized American companies got hit by a data breach last year, and that number is going up. It's your choice. Trust your current cybersecurity infrastructure like he did, or outsource. Protecting your precious data with the leading managed security services provider in the U.S., Thrive. It all starts with a comprehensive Thrive cyber risk assessment. Thrive security analysts identify security gaps and deliver proactive solutions to help keep your network healthy and protected. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Are you ready? Get your no-obligation security recommendations and consultation. Your business relies on it. Visit thrivenextgen.com. That's thrivenextgen.com.
When you're a small business owner, having your bookkeeping and taxes in order comes at a cost. I'm not just talking about your money. I'm talking about your time, hours and hours that you could have spent actually growing your business. But guess what? It doesn't have to be that way thanks to Found. Found is a banking platform that doesn't just consolidate your financial ecosystem. Found automates manual activities like expense tracking and finding tax write-offs. Found makes staying on top of invoices and payments so easy. Oh, and by the way, other small businesses are loving Found too. This Found user said, quote, "Found is going to save me so much headache. It makes everything so much easier. Expenses, income, profits, taxes, invoices even," unquote. And Found has 30,000 5-star reviews just like this. Open a Found account for free at found.com/sports. That's found.com/sports. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services are provided by Piermont Bank, member FDIC. Don't put this one off. Join thousands of small business owners who have streamlined their finances with Found.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Hey, listen up, Knicks fans. Here's your once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win a meet and greet with the Knicks' John Stark in the ESPN New York Suite on Sunday, March 30th, when the Knicks take on Portland. Enter for your chance to win on the ESPN New York app or at ESPNNewYork.com. Brought to you by John Starks Kia, Starks Ford of Queens, and your home for Knicks basketball, ESPN New York. Knicks with a nice win yesterday. You know, Sacramento's not a bad team. Over 500. The schedule favored the Knicks because they had 2 days off. And Sacramento had to fly in from having played the previous night. So that's a nice win for the Knicks. They spread the wealth. McBride played very, very well. Tucker was on the bench after they signed him to a 10-day contract. He's going to be a good resource to drive the team, be an emotional outlet for them as well. And also kind of a surprising win by the Nets. And what I would like to tell all of you, with the Nets winning and beating the Lakers. Now, the Lakers are a diminished team without LeBron. He's out with a groin injury. They still have Luka Doncic. They still have a pretty good team. And they come in and they get beaten in Brooklyn by the Nets. So anybody that tells you about tanking, listen, we're all honest with each other. We're friends. You're my co-host. The Nets want to lose. The Nets front office wants to lose. They want to have the greatest opportunity to get one of the top 3 picks in the NBA draft. I mean, their dream is to get the number 1 pick so they can get Cooper Flagg. They want to lose. Sean Marks wants to lose. That's why he's traded the players who he's traded. They want to have a bad year. But that never gets to the players. There's no incentive for the players to get a good draft pick. It might cost them their job. So every time they go out on the court, they want to win. They're going to play hard. How does it benefit them that they get a good draft pick? They might not be there next year. The team might look completely different. So the theory of tanking is certainly a clean theory, and it kind of makes sense in the abstract. But the message never gets to the players. They won't do it because they're putting stuff on tape for their next job. They want to work. They want to continue to earn a living. Jordy Fernandez, a first-year coach. Now, he should get the message from the front office that it's probably best if we lose. But he also wants to get winning in their DNA. They had lost 7 in a row. They've been awful. You think the plan was for them to beat the Lakers? No. But it doesn't work that way. Tanking is not as easy as you think it is because the players are not in on the gig, just the front office. So the front office could engineer it that they don't put a lot of talent on the team, which will lead to losing. But the one thing that we've seen from the Nets all year is a scrappiness. Jordy Fernandez has them playing hard. He wants to, and if they don't play hard, they're out of the game. He has his reputation on the line that when things turn around and his talent on this team, that he's going to be the coach to do it. Kenny Atkinson thought he was going to be that guy too and ended up being the sacrificial lamb because the big 3 didn't love him that much. How's he doing in Cleveland, who the Nets will face tonight? So, yeah, we could sell tanking, how awful it is. We're not selling it to the players, though, because in a perfect world, the Nets would have lost that game. Because that's what they've done of late. They've gotten out to a big lead against the Warriors. And, you know, Sean Marks is probably sitting up there like Dr. Evil go, good, this is just what we need. Now, they let the Warriors come back and win that game. But that's not the way the front office wants it. Then they could get angry at me saying this right now, but they know it's the truth. The Nets were built this year to lose and to get into the lottery. That's why they moved heaven and earth when they made the Mikal Bridges deal. You know why? Because they had to get back their draft pick. because it made tanking worthwhile. If they didn't have their own draft pick, which Houston had, then losing wouldn't have meant anything this year. But the way they moved heaven and earth to get back their 2025 tells you what their plan was. But nobody told the players. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk some football. 1-800-919-3776. That's the number. It's time for you to be a co-host. We've got a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff to talk about. And also today, we're going to have some fun because I did a deep dive, and it got ugly into social media last night. So we're going to play a little game, which we haven't done that much of late, Debunk the Junk. Or I like to say rolling with the trolling. It's going to be beautiful. You're going to see the nasty side of me. I love it. You're going to love it too. Come on back. The K Show, second hour, coming up in just a moment, right here on 880 ESPN.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
You know what? Check yourself.
Hear more from Michael K. weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN.
Suck it up and like it.
The ESPN New York app and your smart speakers.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Are you ready to build your company's dream team? Just like in sports, finding skilled players is essential for success. With Robert Half's winning combination of specialized recruiting professionals and award-winning AI, we'll help you find the MVPs and key role players who will have you hanging banners in the rafters. Because in business, it's all about having the experienced team on your side. At Robert Half, we know talent.
This episode is brought to you by the Nissan Armada Pro 4X. With a twin-turbo V6 engine ready to propel your adventures up to 8,500 pounds of towing capacity to haul all your favorite toys and space for 8 passengers, Nissan's most powerful car yet will chew up and spit out anything you throw at it. Learn more about the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada at nissanusa.com. Towing capacity varies by configuration. See Nissan Towing Guide and Owner's Manual for additional information. Always secure cargo.
This is the Michael K. Show podcast.
I gotta get more K.
Listen live weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN, the ESPN New York app, and your smart speaker.
All right, throughout the break and throughout the day, I've been refreshing ESPN.com, waiting for an Adam Schefter tweet, and waiting to see who the Giant quarterback's going to be. Precariously, it hangs in the balance. We don't know. I don't know if they know. I give them credit. Their top priority was getting Matthew Stafford. And they gave him an offer that he accepted. They came up with a deal that the Rams would have made. And then Stafford took a look at the Giants and said, what am I doing? Why would I sign up for this when I could be on the Rams? And the Rams, with all the talent they have in the skill position players, it wouldn't make sense. So they haven't announced exactly what they've done contractually with him, but he didn't want to play for the Giants. But they did. They satisfied the $50 million a year. They were willing to go that route. That's how badly they wanted him. But what's plan B? Plan B seems to be Aaron Rodgers, but is it? Now, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I've said this over and over again, but it comes with some risk because he is a pain. But if he plays the way he played in the second half of the season last year, you take him. And you got an administration where they got to win. They got to win more games than 3 or 4 or 5. They want to keep their jobs. Otherwise, they're gone. But just think about how dense it is to have at least a GM working with the assumption that if they don't win a lot of games, he's going to get fired. And he's the guy who's going to actually use that third pick. So is he going to take a pick that's going to benefit the long-term efforts for the Giants? Or is he going to make a pick that's going to benefit them the most in 2025 and may not be the best thing for long-term? See, the Jets are operating on a different paradigm because they know they're going to be here for a while. They have a little time to breathe. They could make picks that's going to be for the long term. So the first big – they've made some moves, and the Giants made some moves too. But not everything plays off a quarterback in the NFL. We know that. You could have all the fancy moves you want. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win. It's a quarterback-driven league. So the Jets made their big move, and they got Justin Fields. And a lot of people around the sport like the move. Now, Fields was also pursued by Pittsburgh. He chose the Jets over Pittsburgh. Adam Schefter describes why.
He wasn't stressed about free agency at all. He was on vacation. And I think when you look at why he would have chosen New York and not Pittsburgh, I think the fact of the matter is Pittsburgh did bench him last year. New York had a new head coach, a new GM, a new front office, and clearly they demonstrated that they wanted Justin Fields in New York. And so the deal gets done here. 2 years, $40 million, 30 guaranteed.
Now, Dan Orlovsky was on SportsCenter, and he said that Fields has a chance to prove himself.
It's a fantastic contract.
That's good agency.
His agent is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity for Justin Fields to go to a place, and we've talked about this. It's now his chance to go prove that he can go get it done. And here's the reality, and people don't like to live in this. Justin Fields' last 2 seasons, he's thrown for 21 touchdowns and 10 picks. No, I'm not telling everybody that this guy's Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, but even in those situations that maybe haven't been the best, he's been a good, solid player. And now he gets to go to an organization that says, hey, we want you to be our starting quarterback for a year or two. And then if it works out, great. And if not, but at least it's an opportunity for Justin to be the guy.
Yeah.
All right, so Dan gave you the good and the bad. I mean, the touchdown to interception ratio is not that great. The guy can run. Now, I heard Bart today saying that the biggest beneficiary is going to be the Jet running game because this guy can run. So you're going to have a lot of RPOs. Can he throw, though? Because quarterback has to throw. Because Lamar Jackson never became the MVP caliber player until he started to throw at a high level. Because then you really have to worry about the throwing, and then he could take off and run as well. It's hard to defend that guy. Justin Fields has not shown. He did it at Ohio State, but never with the Bears, and not last year with the Steelers, that he's going to be a real threat throwing the ball. But Orlovsky said that Fields has shown some flashes to him.
He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow. But in situations that maybe weren't set up for a quarterback to go play at an incredibly high level, he's done some good things. He's not a flawless player. But this is now, and I think this was a huge reason why he chose the Jets, the opportunity for him to go be the guy. Mm-hmm. This is your 24-month window to say, I'm a bona fide starting quarterback in the NFL. Or you won't be. And for Tanner Engstrand, who's their offensive coordinator, who comes over from the Detroit Lions, it's pivotal for him to utilize his skill set in the perfect way. Garrett Wilson, this offensive line are going to matter. But living in that limbo world of athlete, passer, quarterback, playmaker, quarterback run, creativity, that's going to be the bread and butter. And this is where he is. And if you use him this way, you can win games with Justin Fields.
You know, we're going to keep a close eye on the Jets during training camp because they're going to say publicly it's a battle between Fields and Tyrod Taylor. If Tyrod Taylor ends up starting for the Jets, then this was a failure. They want Fields to start. They give him $30 guaranteed million over 2 years. That's the guy they want. That could be their solution for the next 10 years. He's still really, really young. Former 11th pick in the draft by the Bears, and then the Bears cashed in their chips, and they went another route with Caleb Williams. So this is the Jets solution for now. Doesn't mean it's a forever solution, but it's a good roll of the dice in a year where they don't have a quarterback. It might have been a nice move for the Giants. And the Giants sit there and wait and wait and wait. The old, remember we used to go to parties, musical chairs? Giants have to wonder, is there going to be a chair available when the music stops? Now, as for the Jets, Rich Cimini, who's covered the Jets for over 30 years, was on with Barton Carlin and talked about them signing Fields.
It was a pretty good signing for the Jets. I liked it, considering they knew that once they moved on from Aaron Rodgers that there was no instant cure-all in the post-Rodgers world. I mean, it's a pretty depressed quarterback market, and I thought Justin Fields was the guy out there with the most upside other than Darnold, but we knew he wasn't part of the equation because of the obvious reasons. So, yeah, I think it's a one-year type flyer. It's a 2-year contract, but they can reassess after 1 year. I see him as a bridge quarterback. He's not the long-term answer, obviously, but if things go well after a year, they can extend him and make a major commitment to him. If not, they could get out of the contract and reset at the quarterback position. So I like it from that standpoint that it gives them, it's like a short-term bet with some possible long-term reward.
Yeah, that's where I'd push back a little bit on Rich, who I have great respect for. It's not the long-term answer. Well, it could be. That's what's intriguing about the signing. This guy obviously had skill. He took Ohio State to the national championship game. He has a rapport with Garrett Wilson. They played together at Ohio State, or the Ohio State. So there's something there that it could be long-term if he shows some of what he showed at Ohio State, which made the Bears make him a first-round pick. So I like the way he said it at the end. It's a short-term solution that has a possible long-term ramification. That I like. Now, the other big story is Garrett Cole. He's out for the year, probably out for a lot of next year as well. It takes a long time to come back from Tommy John surgery. The surgery is being performed today in L.A. by Dr. Neil Elitroch. It's a tough blow for the Yankees. There's no other way to paint that. It just is. Now, I was talking with Chris Carlin at the end of their show, and he lined up, how debilitating it is for the Mets to lose two pitchers and Francisco Alvarez. And I said, well, it's not, because the Mets are not built that way. The Mets are built to be fluid with their starting rotation. They don't have long-term contracts. They don't believe in that. The long-term contract that they're dealing with is Senga, and that was signed by Billy Epler, not by David Stearns. Now, they did bring in Minaya on a 3-year deal. And I think that's about the limit of what Stearns is ever going to do with a pitcher in his 30s. That's why they didn't go for Max Fried. They didn't want to go for 8 years. That's why they didn't go for Snell. They just don't want to go long-term. So the fact that they lose Minaya and Montas is just a 2-year commitment, I don't think it really sets them back that much. They've got some arms that they can move in and just pick up those spots for a while. And as for Alvarez, it's a 6 to 8 week thing. It stinks. The hamate bone, there's nothing you could do about it. He swung, and that little bone in the middle of your hand broke. Yeah, that's some protection in the order for all the hitters that they have, and they expected they was going to bounce back defensively, and he's very important defensively, too. That was not the read on him when he came up. He was a hitter, and they didn't know how he'd be defensively. He puts a lot of work into his defense. So you're going to lose a little bit offensively, but you have Luis Torrens there. Torrens can play defense. Now, he also hit very well when he came up with the Mets last year, and then really was terrible in August and September. So if the Mets get something in the middle there, they could survive this. And all three guys that you don't want to lose, you're going to get back. You're going to get back at some point. The Yankees are not getting back Garrett Cole. Not this year. That's why you look at that loss and go, that's awful. You look at the Met losses and go, oh, that's inconvenient, but it's not awful. Because I think they can absorb it. That's the way their pitching staff has been designed, to absorb these things. They've got arms. Now, a lot of it does run off of Senga. I know Senga is very, very important for them. But the Mets can absorb losing Minaya and Montas. They can. Not for a long stretch. I mean, you want Minaya back. You don't want him out for 5 months. But he's not going to be out for 5 months. Probably be back in May. I think Montas is a little bit longer. Could be 2.5 months. But they can absorb that. They can absorb the loss of Alvarez. How do the Yankees absorb Cole? How do they do that? Thank goodness they have Max Fried. Jeff Passan was on SportsCenter, and he was asked that question. How did the Yankees pivot after the Cole injury?
They're going to look to their depth. The start of that depth was Marcus Stroman, a guy that they signed last year and who they looked to trade this offseason. Didn't find any takers, and probably a good thing. And now that Garrett Cole is out, they're likely to turn to Will Warren, a pitching prospect who in 5 starts last year had an ERA over 10, but has shown up in spring looking really good. The stuff has improved. And look, there's nothing you can do when you lose a starter the caliber of Garrett Cole outside of maybe trading for Sandy Alcantara. But at this point, I think the Yankees are just going to go and ride with what they have and hope that they get the same type of starting pitching at the beginning of this year that they did last year when, let's not forget, Garrett Cole was out as well.
You know, I've heard the same things that Jeff has heard. The Yankees are very impressed with Warren. But I watched Warren last year. I mean, he's got to take a seismic jump to be a really impactful pitcher for the Yankees. He really got roughed up. If you take a look and go on YouTube and watch that performance that he had against the Phillies, that was his first big league performance at Citizens Bank. He didn't look good. He didn't seem like he had the arsenal to get out of things, but I know he's refined his changeup, which is a weapon against left-handed batters. I think this is the way it's going to play, everybody. Warren has options. Carlos Carrasco does not. He also has experience. At some point, Carlos Carrasco could opt out of his minor league deal with the Yankees if he's not going to make the team. So I think the thing that they will probably do, they'll start the year with Carrasco as the number 5. And then if he doesn't work out, they can release him, no harm, no foul, and then bring up Warren. But if they bring up Warren and Warren doesn't do the job, there's no guarantee that Carlos Carrasco is going to take being sent down to the minors. He doesn't have to. The contract that he signed gives him an out. So when you're making decisions like this for a team, you're looking for maneuverability and flexibility. Starting the season with Carrasco as your number 5 gives them that flexibility. Starting it with Warren, well, then all of a sudden they probably lose Carrasco, which is some of the depth that they have. And before you jump on the Yankees, they've traded their depth to get Soto. They traded King. They traded Thorpe. They traded Vasquez. I mean, those are guys that would be in line to be the 5th starter. Well, Michael King, could be much higher than that. So they traded a lot of their depth for some of the moves that they've made because they were going to go for a World Series. They went for it last year with Juan Soto. And that's a deal that you make every single time. I don't think you wish, I wish we would make that deal. So we have Vasquez and Thorpe. Now, Thorpe ended up being the piece that the San Diego Padres sent to get Dylan Cease. So the Yankees might have been able to use that, but he was a well-thought-of prospect. But the one the Yankees didn't want to give up in that deal was King. And the Padres, there wouldn't have been a deal without King. So the Yankees had to do it. And you know what? King proved that he's a heck of a starter. He's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. Who knows if he ever returns here. But the bottom line is Yankees have some questions with their pitching depth right now. Through no fault of their own, they didn't think that heel was going to go down. They had to think and consider that the Garrett Cole situation could actually deteriorate to this. Maybe. We'll see. 1-800-919-3776. That's the number. Let's take some phone calls. Let's make you the co-host. Let's go to Nick in Astoria. Nick, you're next on the show. What's up, Nick?
Yes, hi.
How you doing, buddy? You're on.
Okay. Thank you.
Nick, you're on the air.
Hi, Michael.
Yes.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Nick, you're on the air.
Nick,
Yes,
please turn down the radio. Buddy, I'll give you a second. You got to turn down the radio because you're hearing me like 15 seconds after I speak. You there, Nick?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, what do you got?
Hi, Michael. Just 2 questions about the Yankees. I want your opinion. If Jason Dominguez is having so much problems on left field, why don't they just switch, put him back into his natural position and put Cody at left field because he's probably an overall better outfielder to begin with. And also Judge batting in the 2-hole. I'd rather have him in the 3-hole to give Cody more protection. I think Cody could have a great year if he's batting in the 2-hole, and he'll have more opportunities for RBIs if your leadoff guy and your second guy get on base like last year.
Well, I don't hate your idea of batting Judge third, but it looks like the Yankees are locked in having him hit second. And even Judge told the Yankees that he would prefer hitting, third. He had a great season last year. But, I guess they look at Bellinger as protection for Judge, too. Rather than protecting Bellinger, how about protect Judge? Now, your other question, and we thank you for the phone call, about center field. I felt like this for the longest time. Then I spoke to a couple of scouts that really illuminated me on something. Yes, center field is Jason's natural position. But the scouts who scouted him down in the minor league said he's a bad center fielder, too. He's just not a good outfielder. As a prospect, he could be a great hitter. He has not mastered the art of defense. So the Yankees then have to make a decision. Where do they want the weaker outfielder? In left field or in center? And their choice is they'd rather have the weaker outfielder in left than in center. Even in Yankee Stadium, which has a big left field. And if you're watching the Yankees against the Orioles right now in spring training, Dominguez played another ball into a ground rule double. He slowed down at the line, thought it was going to be foul. It wasn't. It bounced, fair, and then over the wall. We're going to see a lot of that. The only thing that you have to hope, because the greatest deodorant to bad defense is great offense. Because how many people out there, how many of you out there, if you're honest with yourselves, how many of you out there listening to the sound of my voice really took notice that Soto was not a good right fielder? Not too many, because he's a great hitter. So that takes away some of the stench. If you're a bad outfielder, you got to hit. Got to hit. Let's go to Ryan in Philly. Ryan, you're next. Hi, Ryan. You're on the air.
Yeah, this whole Garrett Cole situation is just fucking ridiculous.
Oh, there you go. I mean, well, what kind of animal are you? So he got dumped, but really, you're waiting online to go on the air, and then you drop an F-bomb. And I don't think he meant it to be a jerk. I just think that's his daily way of speaking. So I think what society should do is maybe clean up their language a little bit. That, you know, when you're on the radio and the FCC is involved, really, it's not smart to use that word. Because the rest of your conversation is not going to get on. Come on, be better than that. Just be better. I'm asking you to be better. Be a better human being. You don't have to drop an F-bomb every single second. But, you know, that's the way the world is. I don't want to get preachy right here, but you look at the biggest stars in the world. They can't keep the F-bomb out of their mouth. Even when they're talking to an audience of 20,000 people, including a lot of kids, they just conveniently drop it. Because that's the new society we live in. Let's be as coarse and as profane as we can. Unbelievable. Let's go to Louis in Orange County, California. What's up, Louis?
I'm here.
How you doing, buddy? You're on.
Great, thank you.
You're on the air, Louis.
Okay, Michael, how are you?
I'm great. Love the way the phone system's working. I'm great, Louis.
All right. There's something going on with it. A-Rod or Soto, who is more generational in your mind?
Well, I mean, Soto has a lot of years left. I would think that Alex is probably a better overall player because he was a great defender. He was a Gold Glove winning shortstop. Actually did quite well at third. Should have won a Gold Glove there. Finished with 696 home runs. So I think Alex was a better player. He was a better base runner, better defender. You know, everybody, you know, rightfully talks about how generational Soto was. Take a look at Alex when he was in Seattle. That was generational. And he was just as young when he signed his free agent contract. Look at the 3 years that he had in Texas. Look at all the MVPs that he won. And I love Juan Soto. I'm very disappointed that he didn't come back so I could see him play, you know, the next 15 years if I'm alive that long with the Yankees. So I'm going to have to get him in bits and pieces watching SNY when I'm off or, you know, when the Yankees play the Mets in interleague play. But if you're asking me, Alex was the better player. Could turn out that, you know, Soto ends up with over 700 home runs. But Alex was the better player. 1-800-919-3776 also gives me an opportunity to correct a mistake I made at the end of last week. I said that Alex was 54 years old. I wondered if I was right when I said it. And then I looked it up when I got off the air, and Alex is 49. He's not 54 years old. He probably wants to wring my neck to give 5 years more, especially when you're at 49, because when 49 is different than 50. It's just a different feel. Like 59 is different than 60. I felt younger when I was 59. Once I hit 60, I said, you know what? You're getting really, really old. Getting really, really old. 1-800-919-3776. We'll come back with more of your phone calls. Still waiting for the Giants to make a decision on who their quarterback is going to be. And I guess a lot of it rests on the decision of Aaron Rodgers. Does he want to play in Pittsburgh? Does he want to play in Minnesota? Or does he want to stay in New York and play for the Giants? Hey, this week, FanDuel is bringing you a Dog of the Day Profit Boost token. One of the best parts about the tourney is when an underdog takes down a powerhouse. Right now, those upsets can get even better because if your underdog bet wins, you'll land even more winnings with a profit boost. This is your chance to ride with the long shots, the scrappy teams, the ones that refuse to go quietly. Conference tournaments, which are going on right now, always provide a surprise. The Big Ten, the ACC, and the SEC are so deep, I'm keeping my eye on the big programs desperate to make the tournament. So if you're waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app is easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com/K to download America's #1 sportsbook today and back your Dog of the Day with a profit boost because, after all, anything can happen in New York. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Opt-in required. Wager of at least plus 100 odds required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Are you ready to build your company's dream team? Just like in sports, finding skilled players is essential for success. With Robert Half's winning combination of specialized recruiting professionals and award-winning AI, we'll help you find the MVPs and key role players who will have you hanging banners in the rafters. Because in business, it's all about having the experienced team on your side. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy, comfy. I'm cozy, cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. Blisters. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and t-shirts that give back. 1 purchased equals 1 donated. Now go to bombas.com/ESPNpod and use code ESPNpod for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/ESPNpod and use code ESPNpod.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We're on till 3. At that time, it's Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. Knicks with a win last night. Nets with a surprising win last night. Rangers play tonight. And the Rangers have kind of stubbed their toe recently, and they've got to get some points. I mean, they're letting opportunities go by where they could really solidify a spot in the playoffs. I mean, they can't be playing like they did over the weekend. They can't. They lost a game in Ottawa that they should not have lost, and then they got blown out by Columbus. I don't get it. One other thing I don't get. So Shesterkin started in Ottawa, and then the next day he doesn't start because it's a back-to-back. I mean, how many times did you watch Henrik Lundqvist in important stretches play the second game of a back-to-back? How many times? They're paying Shesterkin a lot of money. These are important games. Step up and play those games. You mean he can't play 2 games in a row? What happens if it comes down to the final game and they have back-to-backs, and that's not the way the schedule is? He wouldn't play that second game? You got to give me a little something. 1-800-919-3776. And let's go to Rich in Brooklyn. Rich. Hello, Rich. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks for taking the call.
You got it. Thanks for making it.
Of course, man. I got to agree with you. I would have to take Soto just because you said we already had Goldschmidt, so I could probably work around that to answer your question from before. Mm-hmm. Now, what I had to say is I think maybe we should get a trade. And I always call in, I always rave about the guy from Altuve, not Altuve, the guy from San Diego, the first baseman. He bats 300. Let's get him, maybe get Michael King. Luis Arise. We get him back, maybe get Michael King, or even like a Dylan Cease to cover up the void. And just take it from there. Just go with Sandy, because Sandy's very low. You know, he doesn't cost too much, but you got to give up like prospects or whatnot. But the friendly contract, you got to go with that, and then just plan with next year and just think you got him, you got Max Fried, then you got Cole for the next year, and just probably take it from there. Get your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, everybody you're saying is somebody that would improve the team, and we thank you for the phone call. Arise costs $14 million. I don't think the Yankees want to go there, and it would weaken their defense because they would have him playing second base. He's not a good second baseman. And then you'd have Jazz Chisholm move over to third. Chisholm did a good job at third last year. He's a better second baseman than he is a third baseman. And the Yankees acquired him with the desire to have him play second base, but Gleyber Torres would move to third. And that has really, by the way, rankled Gleyber Torres. He still brought it up yesterday when the Yankees played the Tigers that Brian Cashman told me and Bob Lorenz on the Yankee Hot Stove show that they wanted Jazz Chisholm play center, but Gleyber Torres refused. Gleyber does not like that. That's out there. Now, as for the pitchers you just said, yeah, it would be wonderful. But the Padres expect to compete for a playoff spot. So they're not trading King or Cease right now. And it doesn't look like they're strapped payroll-wise that they have to get rid of one of them. So the best thing that Yankee fans could root for is for the Pirates or for the Padres to stub their toe. Then those guys, who are both going to be free agents, will become eminently available. Now, as for Alcantara, of all the guys that are named, that's the guy I want. And that's the guy you could probably get now. This is a former Cy Young Award winner, a dynamic player who was derailed by Tommy John surgery. He's looked great coming back this spring, and he has an eminently affordable contract. This is an ace-type starter at $17 million a year for the next 2 years, and then 2 affordable options after that. You have total control over a great player. He's going to cost an awful lot. You're going to have to empty your farm system to get him. My gut feeling is what the Yankees are going to do. They're going to sit back and let it play out before they panic into anything. Because they have last year as a template to how that works. They didn't panic when they lost Cole. They had Luis Heel fill the position, and Heel won the Rookie of the Year and kept the Yankees afloat. And the Yankees' great first half is what won them the pennant and at least won them the American League East, because they didn't play that great in the middle of the season, and they were okay toward the end, but their great start held up. Great starts are important, but who's going to be that guy? Is that Will Warren? Do you really believe that's Will Warren? Is it Carlos Carrasco? Those are the questions you have to ask. Another question, and I thought this was fascinating when Buster brought it up. You have a situation where Cole opted out of his contract, which was his contractual right. And the way the Yankees could have kept him from becoming a free agent was by adding the 10th year at $36 million. When he opted out, the Yankees said, not happening. We're not adding the 10th year. So technically, he opted out and was then a free agent. So the 4 years that he had remaining on his contract were void. The $36 million a year, they were void. Then the next day, he called up Hal Steinbrenner and said, I want to opt back in. They didn't have to allow him to do that. So as a Yankee fan out there, every Yankee fan has to appreciate what Garrett Cole's about. A guy who wanted to be a Yankee, a guy who was unbelievably excellent at his craft, a guy who was money in the postseason last year. Absolute money. I think he had 5 starts with a 2.17 ERA. And despite a game that will live in Yankee infamy, he pitched Game 5, a must-win game for the Yankees of the World Series. And he was almost perfect. Dealing. He didn't give up an earned run. Now, he gave up those 5 runs in the 5th inning, but the errors derailed him. Those were all unearned runs. Now, the Yankees probably looked at that and go, well, I guess he could pitch with this, or whatever it is. And after calling Hal, the Yankees allowed him to opt back in. As a Yankee fan, not knowing what you know now, that he was going to, need Tommy John surgery, would you have been upset if the Yankees played hardball with a guy who loved being a Yankee, who dreams one day of winning a championship in the Bronx, who wants to be in Monument Park, who wants to have his number retired? Would you have been upset with the New York Yankees if they played hardball by saying, no, you're not coming back? You're not opting back in. You're just not. It would have been the ultimate hardball, but they probably could have gone out and signed Blake Snell in addition to Max Fried, because they had $36 million to play with. But those decisions are not made in a vacuum, everybody. And by that I mean this. If you make a maneuver like that, all of baseball sees what you did. Every player sees what you did. And you go, boy, that's not cool. Guy gave the Yankees everything. He blew out his arm for them. And they wouldn't let him opt back in. But if the Yankees wanted to really play hardball and say, you know what, this is a big boy's business here, they could say, well, he opted out. We weren't going to cancel his contract if he didn't opt out. So once he opted out, that gave them the opportunity to say, okay, goodbye. You know, Buster Olney was on with us earlier, and if you didn't hear that interview, you have to check out the podcast. And he said this, and it's true. Well, sometimes there could be a problem with the elbow, and you could pitch through it, like what Tanaka did. But please let me tell you this one thing. Tanaka never had Tommy John surgery, and he pitched most of his career with the Yankees, all of his career with the Yankees, other than the first 5 games, with a partially torn UCL. Here's a dirty little secret that people don't bring up. He was never the pitcher that they expected him to be. He was never the overpowering ace that they expected him to be, because I think that he pitched with some governor on him where he didn't want to blow out that elbow. So he wasn't the same guy that he was in Japan. He was a great Yankee, but not the pitcher that they thought he was going to be. And nobody knew Garrett Cole's medicals more than the Yankees after they had to shut him down for the first half of last year. Because if there wasn't something of concern in those medicals, they would have added the 10th year. They would never have risked. They never would have risked him becoming a free agent. So, in essence, and I like Garrett a lot, so this is not what I'm advocating for. Garrett Cole got his cake and ate it too. He got to opt out, kind of play chicken with the Yankees. You want to give me that 10th year? They said no. Now, at that point, he's a free agent and would have had to go into the free agent market and have teams bid on him at the age of 34, and they'd have to do extensive medical testing on that elbow. He might not have come close to getting $36 million a year. So then he calls up Hal Steinbrenner and says, I'm opting back in. Hal could have told him to take a walk, because for Yankee historians, when A-Rod opted out after year 7 of the initial contract, Brian Cashman said, do not bring him back. And the reason Brian said that, not because Alex was a bad player. Alex was still a great player. But by opting out, it took away what the Texas Rangers were giving the Yankees to help offset the contract. All of that money that was going to come over the last 3 years of that 10-year deal, the Rangers didn't have to pay. So then the Yankees re-signed him to that massive 10-year deal. And if you're a Yankee fan, you can say, you know what, that was worth it. Why? Because they won a championship in 2009. So it did become worth it. But they could have told him bye. That's what Brian Cashman wanted to do. But at that time, Hank Steinbrenner stepped in and realized the value of having Alex on the team, and they re-signed him to that 10-year deal. And notice, Garrett Cole and Scott Boras did not call up Brian Cashman. They called up Hal Steinbrenner, where they hoped that there would be some empathy and sympathy, because Hal, I've been telling you guys this for years, is a super, super nice guy. And maybe he didn't want to do that to a player that is one of the de facto leaders of the Yankees. You know, Judge is the captain. But the bottom line is, Cole is as much of a leader for the pitching staff as Aaron is for the whole team. But they could have been out. They could have been out. And he pulled them back in. Nick in Westchester. Nick? Hey, Nick.
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. First time. I was
Welcome.
wondering if you had any insight on if pitchers ever think about like getting preemptive Tommy John surgery.
Well, I know, sadly, Nick, a lot of parents do that with their young kids. Because if you do Tommy John surgery and it's a good Tommy John surgery, you end up throwing harder because you have a stronger elbow. It's called prophylactic surgery. I don't think that any major leaguer is going to do that. You hope that you don't have to have Tommy John. And although Tommy John has a very high success rate It's not infallible. Sometimes people don't come back from it. And we thank you for the phone call. You don't want to be the guy that has prophylactic surgery so you could throw harder and eliminate this. Because no matter when you have it, if you're a starter, you're going to miss a year and a half. That's why younger people do it in high school, which is disgraceful to have your kid's elbow get cut into so that they could throw harder and that they could, do better in showcase events. Terrible. Terrible. I would never do it. But people do it. But I don't think they have preemptive prophylactic surgery in the big leagues. I've never heard of a pitcher doing that. Now, some people have it with, what Tanaka had, partially torn UCLs because they know eventually it's going to blow. It didn't with Tanaka, so they do it then. Now, there is a different surgery that they have now with a some kind of sleeve that gets you back a little bit sooner. I don't know which one that Cole is going to have. But if it's a full Tommy John surgery, it's like 14 to 16 months to come back. Not a fun surgery. Not a fun surgery. You know what is going to be fun? Debunk the junk. Yeah, you're going to love this. You're going to love it because I did a deep dive yesterday of some trolls on Twitter, and I don't answer people on Twitter or X anymore, but I thought I'd have a little fun on the show. Really give it to them. Really stick it to them. That's coming up next as we lead you into Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. They'll be on at 3 right here on 880 ESPN.
If you like true crime stories, listen to this one. But as you listen, put yourself in the place of this IT manager because he never dreamed this would happen at his company on his watch. He came in on Monday and tried to log in and couldn't. A ransom pop-up informed him that company data, customer files, bank accounts, APAR, everything was being held for ransom. And if they didn't pay $250,000 in Bitcoin, no less, all of it would be wiped. Nearly a third of mid-sized American companies got hit by a data breach last year, and that number is going up. It's your choice. Trust your current cybersecurity infrastructure like he did, or outsource. Protecting your precious data with the leading managed security services provider in the U.S., Thrive. It all starts with a comprehensive Thrive cyber risk assessment. Thrive security analysts identify security gaps and deliver proactive solutions to help keep your network healthy and protected. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Are you ready? Get your no-obligation security recommendations and consultation. Your business relies on it. Visit thrivenextgen.com. That's thrivenextgen.com.
Grainger knows space at your facility is limited. As a maintenance specialist, you only have so many spots for backup products in your inventory roster, which means space on your bench comes at a premium. Well, when it comes to breadth and depth, Grainger's got you covered. They've got over 1 million industrial-grade products. Plus, fast delivery helps reduce the inventory you need to keep on hand, freeing up space and capital while giving your operation a winning edge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by a local branch. When you're a small business owner, having your bookkeeping and taxes in order comes at a cost. I'm not just talking about your money. I'm talking about your time, hours and hours that you could have spent actually growing your business. But guess what? It doesn't have to be that way thanks to Found. Found is a banking platform that doesn't just consolidate your financial ecosystem. Found automates manual activities like expense tracking and finding tax write-offs. Found makes staying on top of invoices and payments so easy. Oh, and by the way, other small businesses are loving Found too. This Found user said, quote, "Found is going to save me so much headache. It makes everything so much easier. Expenses, income, profits, taxes, invoices even," unquote. And Found has 30,000 five-star reviews just like this. Open a Found account for free at found.com/sports. That's found.com/sports. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services are provided by Piermont Bank, member FDIC. Don't put this one off. Join thousands of small business owners who have streamlined their finances with Found.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
He's been here a long time, and he's going to be here even longer.
Catch the show on demand whenever you want. Just subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's debunk.
That's a poo-poo take.
The junk.
It's trash.
On the Michael K. Show.
Oh, yeah. Debunk the junk. So, yesterday was the first day in the new studio. And I took a picture and said, look at the new dig, something like that. And let the hate begin. Because most people that are on social media are miserable human beings that hate their life, hate their families, and hate the fact that they exist. So what they want to do is they actually want to bring you down to their level and make you hate your life. It's hard to do with me because I'm enjoying myself. But I thought I'd answer some of them because I thought it would be fun. So Anthony Crawford, if you'd like to contact him on Twitter, he's AJCraw23. So I had Don on the show, and he goes, seriously? Don's on the show again? You said goodbye to these people. Do your own show. This is not working. You're going to be taken off the air within 3 months. All right, so here's my little offer to Anthony, who seems so unhappy in his existence. So, Anthony, here's the deal. If I'm taken off the air in 3 months, I will donate $10,000 to the charity of your choice. Could be you, too, if you want to be that charity. But if I'm not taken off the air, which I guarantee I will not be taken off the air, then you donate $10,000 to the Alzheimer's Foundation. So rather than be a flatulent ass, which is what you are, let's put our money where our mouth is. You think I'm going to be off the air in 3 months? I guarantee I won't be, but let's make a little bet, and let's let charity actually benefit from it. So again, what's today? March 11th. So it'd be April 11th, May 11th, June 11th. So according to Anthony, again, AJ Craw 23, I'm going to be off the air on June 11th. The show will be canceled. Let's see if you're right. Now let's go to Joe Vasquez. That's JoeVaskas. So I was talking about how I'm in the new studio. So this is what Joe, also seemingly very happy with his lot in life. He says, maybe one day get in the booth. You're supposed to be the Yankees play-by-play. You can't have it both ways. And don't tell me it's a contract issue. That's what you negotiated. You should be there 162 or else retire. Well, Joey, the Yankees, every year of their 162, 12 of them are taken for national television. So even if I was so inclined to do a full 162, couldn't do it. Only 150 is available. And then Apple takes some too. So there's no way. So I don't understand why you're so angry with your lot in life that you'd strike out at me. But I do 140 of the 150 games that Yes produces. I guess I should take it as a compliment, Joe. I thank you so much, by the way, because you love me so much. You don't even want me to have 10 games off. You want the Caster 162, 9 innings or extra innings. You need him. You want me on that TV. But it's impossible, Joey. You're going to have to live with it. There's some more. These are fun. Ted Williams Ghost says, from May 2022 through December 2024, Real Michael K, a.k.a. the Jackass, took at least 50% of the time off. I don't listen anymore. If he doesn't care, why should I? And then Ted Williams Ghost says, I'm kind of glad his show got canceled. There's so many things to unpack right here. This is going to be fun, Ted. There's no way I miss 50% of the time. Not even close. Not even close. So there's 5 shows a week, 52 weeks. So that's 260 shows. So you're saying that I missed 130 shows. Total lie. Total lie. Again, I take it as a compliment. You need me on this radio. You don't want me to have time off. But I'm sorry. I'm an older gentleman. I'm going to have days off. I'm going to have vacation time. Now, I know you're talking about the time that I took off 2.5 months in the summer. I thought that could work and not take vacation time other time. It didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work, so we don't do that anymore. But that little stretch, that's why you don't listen anymore. Also, the second item I have to get to, Ted, I'm so glad. I'm kind of glad his show got canceled. Then he had a crying emoji. Now, do you have a crying emoji because you just thought about the lot of your life, what a loser you are? My show didn't get canceled by any stretch of the imagination. Because if my show got canceled, the way the world works in our business, why would you cancel somebody's show, right? And then give them another show by themselves. So why do you come up and lie like that and put that into the ether? I don't get it. We move on to another one. They were out last night, baby. New York's fraud fan. Hey, Michael, I noticed your chin is looking a little more sunken in than normal. A lot of times this is because of habitual mouth breathing. Do you do that? Well, no, I don't, New York fraud fan. But I've lost 27 pounds since last week, or since the beginning or the end of the season. So thankfully, your jaw does kind of, become a little bit more set where you're not a big fat plump. But again, thank you so much for caring. That's so nice that you would think that. And then finally, one more. Perlo Patino. By the way, Rick Pitino is going to be a guest on the show tomorrow. He just writes, nobody's listening. Nitwit, your lot in life is so bad that's what your contribution was to me sending out a picture that we're in the new studio. If nobody's listening, then why are they employing me? And why are you following me on Twitter? Loser. I mean, think about it. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then Jimbo finishes it off with, you guys got to go back to the old arrangement. These new shows aren't working. Jimbo, they're working great. People are raving about it. They love the new shows. They love all the local. They love it. So I thought I'd have some fun and debunk the junk, especially with the losers that have no life, that are so unhappy with what they're doing on this planet that they have to strike out at other people. I'm glad the show got canceled. It really didn't. It was kind of my choice. I couldn't do those hours anymore. Canceled doesn't fit in. I hope you guys are happier than you make yourself out to be, because you seem so miserable. But you won't be miserable if you stay tuned for Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. They're coming up in minutes. It's a great, great show. Great show. We'll be back tomorrow. We got a lot of great guests. Jeremy Schaap's going to be on. Mike Lupica is going to be on. Rick Pitino is going to be on. It's going to be awesome. Join us at 1 o'clock to enjoy all of it. All of it. I love you all. In the words of Billy Joel, life is a series of hellos and goodbyes. I'm afraid it's time for a goodbye again. See everybody. Have a great afternoon, and listen to Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg next. Hey, it may be the off season, but every season is Bigelow tea season. You know I'm picky about what I drink, especially on days I have a show. One of the first things I do each day is reach for a mug full of Bigelow tea. I love the different flavor options, and it's perfect for someone who makes his living behind a microphone. Want to know what keeps me going? Look no further than my cup of Bigelow tea next to me in the studio. So grab a mug full of your favorite Bigelow tea and tea proudly. Bigelow tea, the official hot tea of the New York Yankees.
Thanks for listening to the Michael K. Show podcast.
You know what? Check yourself.
Hear more from Michael K. weekdays at 1 on 880 ESPN.
Suck it up and like it.
The ESPN New York app and your smart speakers.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Are you ready to build your company's dream team? Just like in sports, finding skilled players is essential for success. With Robert Half's winning combination of specialized recruiting professionals and award-winning AI, we'll help you find the MVPs and key role players who will have you hanging banners in the rafters. Because in business, it's all about having the experienced team on your side. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.